Yeah.
All right. I've not done this before. It'll be interesting.
Well, neither have I. You take me to all the nicest places.
You better introduce yourself, because no one knows who you are on my
Of course,
channel.
no, and I don't expect them to know me either.
No.
Hello, folks. My name technically on YouTube is Phoenix the Scrub Monkey. You can call me Ben, and this man here is Headphones UK, but you've already guessed that.
We are friends of the Doctor Who Society at Sussex, because that's the same university we went to. So we've been friends for like 3-4 years now?
Oh, longer than that, I would have said, but
Yeah.
God, time flies.
Yeah, but so yeah, we hang out a lot. And I knew that Ben was going to go see the Sonic movie because he's a big hardcore Sonic fan.
Yeah, hello, little guy.
I was
That looked weird.
I wasn't planning on seeing this movie myself anyway, just because I knew it didn't look very good, but I knew it would be fun to see it with Ben, just because his reaction would be hilarious.
And was it?
Yes, it was. And I specifically said to you, as you know, save your opinion for the car, so
Yes.
spill.
Yes, right, okay, where do I begin? Right, so, yes, Sonic fan. I would love to say born and bred, but it wasn't. Surprisingly enough, I got into the Sonic franchise because of Sonic 06, because of CG. And so now that we've come full circle on a movie in which it initially rose to popularity, or infamous popularity, because of its CG of a certain titular hedgehog, is kind of hilarious. I do love it when it bookends. But yes, initial headline thoughts. It's not horrific. Phantasmagorical.
Yeah, it's like it was nowhere near as bad as I thought it could be. I still wouldn't call it good, but it's still nowhere near as bad as it could have been, especially considering obviously we all know about the original design of Sonic back when it was revealed, like in last November, was it?
Oh, some horrific time in 2018.
19?
Might have been 19. It's been repressed.
Yeah, it was like April or something in 2019 when we all saw the original, and I have no idea what they were going with that design, because it looked absolutely horrific.
I think it might have been a case of trailer released far too early in the post-production stage.
Probably. Although I did watch one video where they funnily said that the whole project of the Sonic movie was money laundering for the company, and that's why it was such a shoddy quality.
You know film companies more than I do, so you'll know when that's happening.
I could see that.
Said the guy with a corruption master's degree. Hey ho.
But yeah, obviously they redid the design. Most people saw that trailer, and that is the design he has throughout the movie. And
it is.
It does look pretty good. They did a good job with the textures. There are a few minor points where it looks a tiny bit like the old design, just for a second. Like they clearly just took the original design and worked off of that instead of starting from scratch.
That's the magnificent work of Tyson Hess.
Yeah.
Person.
The company who did the effects for this and also the Cats movie, which has now since closed down, so they evidently didn't pull the right straws out of that cup.
Nothing tugs at the heartstrings more than a terrifying case like that.
But we should probably get to the premise of the movie, just for anyone who hasn't seen the movie. So it opens up with Sonic in the original. It's Morbius, isn't it?
Mobius Green. It's a Green Hill South Island type thing.
The island that he comes from in the actual game, where we see him as a kid. Which, to be honest, I thought that was creepy as hell. The young Sonic.
Yeah.
I get what they were trying to do with it. They were trying to make him look like classic Sonic.
Baby Sonic has been attempted before with varying results, and again we have varying results for Baby Sonic, which is why they dwelt on it for the least possible time whatsoever.
Yeah, it's just sort of like it just looked really creepy. But he lives in the original Green Hill Zone, and he's being looked after by some wise old owl named, what was it, like Mother Longclaw? Is that part of Sonic lore?
Very, very back deep into the lore, I presume, in that it has to be raised by some figure, whether it's an older uncle or this owl.
Yeah, we never really know much about Sonic's origin through
eternally wise,
because you've read a lot of the Archie and IDW comics. I have not.
Much to my shame.
So I don't know much about that initial backstory, but I only know most of what I know from the games, because I have played a decent amount of Sonic games. I played the Sonic Advance series. I played the original Sonic trilogy as well. I played Sonic Generations, which I really like that game.
Yeah.
But yeah, not as big a fan as Ben, but I've played my fair share. But yeah, it was just sort of a weird... It was like generic backstory number 54, raised by some old creature who is not your blood relative but teaches you all these morals.
And really angry Echidna tribe is trying to hunt you down and harpoon you with spears and bows and arrows.
That was probably the biggest bit of fan service in the whole movie, where for whatever reason, like the owl says that with great power comes great fear and people wanting to use that power. So for whatever reason, if you're not a hardcore Sonic fan, you probably wouldn't have known, but it's definitely the Echidna tribe because they've got the dreadlocks and all the jewelry.
And as we know, nothing bad ever happened to them.
Yeah, but yeah, it's definitely the Echidna tribe that are chasing him. So I guess technically, if you like stretch the truth, Knuckles technically is in the movie. He could have
kind of, sorta.
He could have very well been one of those Echidnas. I mean, he started off as a villain to Sonic anyway, so I could easily see this as being his origin story.
Villain, nuisance, dumb guy. You know your trope.
I mean, he's nowhere near of much of an edgelord as Shadow is.
No,
which is one of the reasons why I much prefer Knuckles over Shadow, because at the very least he feels like he has more depth than just I'm a dark edgelord.
And yeah, there's a thing to describe. So this movie, I'd love to say, is for all Sonic fans, because there's now 4 different generations of fans. You have the classic, you have the modern, you have the new, and hopefully, based on the probable success of this movie, you have the people who've literally come into the franchise now seeing it in the movie theaters.
Well, we'll see what happens. I mean, like, every movie like this that comes out that's a high concept but has a lot of controversy advertises itself as if it's going to have a sequel. Like Ghostbusters 2016 did that, which I did a review of that back when it came out. I thought it was okay. My opinions of it have dropped down since I've watched it, which will probably what will happen with this movie. But they advertised that there was going to be a sequel, and that never happened. But we should probably get back to the premise. So basically, the Echidnas are hunting after Sonic.
And photorealistic owl and not photorealistic Echidna tribe.
You could tell that the owl was from an earlier draft when they had the more semi-realistic looking Sonic, which was really bizarre. But basically, the owl has a bag full of power rings, and they're used as effectively like the...
Thank you for calling them power rings.
Well, yeah, but they basically use like the sling ring from Doctor Strange. You throw it and think where you want to go, and it will take you there. So Longclaw throws one of them, and the portal opens up to Earth.
America,
Montana, yes. So she says, run, Sonic, and hide. You must hide yourself from the world and not be noticed. So... And
as we know, run fast, hide definitely doesn't ingrain yourself when you're a little kid like me when you first get the franchise, because I've been doing that ever since.
Yeah, so basically Baby Sonic goes through the portal. We don't know if his mum lived or not. She was shot in the chest with an arrow.
She was basically starting the whole speech that you usually give when you're dying from an arrow to the
She was basically given the typical Obi... They even call her Obi-Wan in the movie.
Yes.
They're basically just given the Obi-Wan speech.
There is a possible major detractor from the film is because Sonic, growing up in America, hiding from pretty much everyone, gets really ingrained in the American culture.
Yeah, so
which has to be expected, I guess, because that's what you do when you're a kid. You get ingrained with the culture.
Yeah.
And then you become annoying old idiot adults like us and start ranting about it on the internet.
Yeah, so Sonic, we cut to like 10 years later.
Yes, Cat.
Just keep that on. So we cut to 10 years later when Sonic's been hiding out in some kind of cave in Montana's forest for like 10 years. And the only person who knows he exists is this crazy old man who produces a picture of Sonic, which looks like that meme.
The Sonic meme,
The Sonic meme, which that did make me laugh. That was quite
references,
funny.
Many laughs.
There were a lot of mini references. We'll get to those as we go along. But yeah, he's called like...
Crazy Dave.
Crazy Dave, yeah. And he calls him the Blue Devil. It's like, he's out there. He's real. I know it. He doesn't really pop up that often.
He's been ruining my life.
Yeah, you'd think he'd pop up more often, but he only like pops up once again near the end. But whatever. The main character is meant to be James Marsden's character, who is the local sheriff of the town, which is literally called Green Hills. It's just... Yeah, God.
Yeah, work with it.
Work with it, but it's just... Oh, God, they're really forcing the envelope on that one. He's a small town sheriff, so he doesn't have a lot of excitement in his life and he wants something more. So he's offered to be transferred to San Francisco, where he will presumably eventually go and then live out the events of the movie Training Day.
Yes. Good luck to him on that one.
Yeah, that's immediately what I was thinking of. It's like some small town sheriff goes to San Francisco. It's like he's going to meet up with Denzel Washington and be forced to smoke PCP. But yeah, so he's going under review, so he can be transferred to San Francisco. But Sonic basically considers him his best friend, even though Marsden has no idea Sonic even exists.
I've had relationships like that.
Yeah, basically Sonic stalks him and his wife and their dog and vicariously lives their life without them even knowing he's there.
And that's another emphasis on the Sonic guy. He's been told to run fast, he's been told to hide, but that obviously develops one hell of a sense of loneliness.
Of course.
And emotional inwardness that I think we, as slightly autistic people, might
Yes,
get.
we can absolutely understand that, although we can't run fast and shoot electricity. So,
But by heck, we can imagine.
yeah, we can imagine we can. So basically, Sonic has this sort of weird passive-aggressive thing where he tries to make himself feel like he's happy, but obviously he can't avoid how lonely he is.
And at times of great emotion, he becomes a lot of lightning.
He basically becomes Thor, effectively, but or the Flash, because there's one point where he pretends that he's basically doing the Bugs Bunny routine where he's playing a baseball game and every person in the game is himself. And at the end, he gets a sudden realization, oh my god, I'm so pathetic, and starts running around in a circle. And then he sets off this massive EMP, because apparently he has the Flash electric powers now.
It's kind of like what I do with the trains.
Yeah, basically. So he sets off this EMP, and obviously that garners attention from him. So the government says, we need to find out what this actually came from. And so
We're gonna need a wackadoodle. Let's bring recuperating Jim Carrey.
yeah, so Jim Carrey, as you guys probably know from the trailers, plays Robotnik in this movie, and
Having the time of his life.
he's definitely having the time of his life. But I was kind of disappointed because what I was imagining was that he was going to be like what he was like in Lemony Snicket when he played Count Olaf, because in that movie he clearly didn't care about playing the role. He was just doing whatever he wanted to do.
Right, yeah.
And he just completely let himself go. In this movie, he's definitely, you know...
He's grabbed hold of the sense of loneliness that both the main character and the main villain are representing.
Yeah.
Only he's obviously lashing out, rather Sonic is trying to have a very big
He's
hug.
kind of embracing the fact that he's a loner, but at the same time, it's sort of like the performance feels like he didn't really want to be there. He was just trying to make the best out of a bad example. It's just sort of like there are some moments when he is kind of funny, to me anyway, but I prefer Jim Carrey when he just completely lets himself... There are sort of two modes of Jim Carrey that I like. When he completely lets himself go and does whatever he wants. So like in The Mask, in Ace Ventura, and Lemony Snicket, which is probably my favourite performance of his.
But then that can horribly backfire.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's the weird sort of everyman Jim Carrey, where he's a lot more toned down. So like The Truman Show, and when he plays Stanley Ipkiss in The Mask, which he actually does that surprisingly well as a role.
I would say that this movie is one of those, but then you kind of think, where's level 11?
Yeah, exactly. It's sort of like, I don't know if it was a directing thing or if he just didn't really want to be there, but he doesn't quite let himself go as much as he should do, and he also wasn't given that many good lines. I mean,
He's definitely become a happy bunny from this, but
or sort of like
it feels like most of it was his direction,
or maybe more like a more animated version of Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory is what I kind of saw out of him.
Yes, and that's quite enough of that.
Yeah, but yeah, so basically he's brought in by the government to find out what's been going on, and so obviously he's nothing like the Robotnik from the games. He's not some obese, balding man with a ridiculously huge Teddy Roosevelt mustache.
Yet, but he literally just ticks the box of mad scientist.
He's a mad scientist. He makes drone technology, which is designed to look like eggs to fit his other name, of course.
Oh, of course it was eggs. Of course it was eggs.
So basically,
I've only just got that.
Yeah, they bring him in, and he basically acts like a self-important asshole to everybody and says, "I'm the only one who can catch this creature." And he has this sniveling sidekick called Agent Stone, who I swear I've heard of a character that's like that in Sonic, but apparently Ben...
Again, me too. I think it's related to the snivelly in that he's the fall guy.
He's definitely meant to be
and
sort
indeed,
of like
we never see
Snively.
him again after like Act 2.
Yeah,
so
again, kind of like Snively in the Sat AM cartoon, except this time he doesn't have a really
awful nose.
No, or a really cool cliffhanger where he shows up at the end revealing that he's not alone, and we never find out what it's with.
No.
Which I actually finally looked that up, and it was just some token wizard character from earlier in the series.
Yeah.
Which that would have been disappointing, but whatever. We're not here to talk about that right now.
No.
So basically, Jim Carrey goes on this mission to find out what Sonic exactly is, and eventually they do find one of his quills. Well, Marsden finds one of his quills,
Yeah.
and Sonic, knowing now that the game's up and he has to move somewhere else, decides to use the rings to go to a different universe.
But he won't shut up.
Yeah, he won't shut up, and the world he's meant to be going to next is clearly meant to be a spoof of Super Mario Brothers.
Sort of. I'm more thinking of Mushroom Hill Zone from Sonic and Knuckles, as was everybody in the fan base. But no, it was just a mushroom planet.
I think it was meant to be sort of a nod to Mario Brothers, because it's literally a world where there's nothing but mushrooms, and it's like, okay, there's clearly some kind of Mario reference in there.
I guess,
because that's the whole point of Sonic's existence. He was meant to be a kick-up starter to Mario.
A rival, yeah. I think that's open to interpretation.
Yeah. Well, also to be a video game interpretation of Michael Jackson. But, which I do also want to point out, Sonic in this movie, I can't remember the actor's name.
Bench Forts.
Thank you. He's also the guy who plays Dewey in the new version of DuckTales, and every time I heard him speak, I could not stop him, especially since Dewey's the one who wears the blue jumper. So it's
Whatever you mean?
It's like, and he even acts like the character too, because Dewey in the new series is meant to be this sort of adventurous loner who feels like he's the only one he can trust, and he has a lot of fun with himself, but he's just kind of a lonely guy. So he's basically playing the same character he was in DuckTales.
It's quite the psychologist session,
Yeah.
which we have in the movie in the first 2 minutes.
Yeah, he has a psychology session with himself.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like,
We've all done that.
again, like Jim Carrey, there are some occasionally funny lines that he has, but again, it's like, this script clearly needs some more revisions, because a lot of the jokes, you could tell that they were just kind of like, just throw any dumb joke in there. Kids are stupid.
A little bit more, and it does continue that through the whole movie. So
Yeah.
James Marsden, Ben Schwartz, and Jim Carrey all meet, minor punch up in shoes, and whoop whoop road trip.
Yeah, so basically, Sonic shows up at James Marsden's house while his wife's out of town checking out apartments in San Francisco. Marsden finds Sonic in his shed and shoots him in the leg with a tranquilizer dart because his wife's a vet. And basically, they do a quick explanation of what Sonic is, and Sonic says, "You need to help me get there, because one, I can't run well because you shot me in the leg with a tranquilizer," which was actually one of the few bits of the movie that actually made sense.
Yes, yeah, and that gives them enough time to bond.
Yeah, the tranquilizer was made for a bear, and he was shot in the leg, and he's only like, what, this high? So it completely makes sense that he wouldn't be able to run. But he also doesn't know, because also when Marsden finds him, he was in the process of about to teleport to Mushroom World, but Marsden shoots him in the leg, and he sees on his shirt it says San Francisco. So as he's holding the ring, he says,
the ring's open, and off the ring go to San Francisco.
He says San Francisco, drops it, and it makes a big portal on the floor, and he has the bag of all the other rings in his hand, and he drops it, and it lands on the top of what was the building called?
I don't know, but it's a giant pyramid.
It was a big pyramid-shaped building in the middle of San Fran. So basically, Sonic has to go to San Francisco to retrieve all of his rings so he can go to Mushroom World. So James Marsden's like, okay, he's surprisingly accepting of the whole thing.
Yeah, but then when Jim Carrey shows up to his doorstep, you kind of have to be.
Yeah, because Jim Carrey locates Sonic. Well, he figures out Sonic is there, and when Sonic eventually comes out to save Marsden's life, because Jim Carrey threatens him with one of his drones, the brief distraction allows Marsden to punch Carrey in
his
the
lights out.
Yeah, his planned punch, his lights out, exactly. And so they go on a road trip onto San Francisco, and it basically becomes the movie Paul for the next 45 minutes.
For the second act, yeah.
It's basically like the movie Paul, where it's this kind of somewhat awkward guy traveling with an alien.
And sort of bonding.
Yeah, but unlike Paul, where it was crude, rude, and really funny, here it's kind of just childish, and also ripping off the Quicksilver scene from the X-Men movies.
If you say so.
Well, yeah, he's not seen the X-Men movies, but there are 2 times in this movie where they do a Quicksilver sequence. One is when they stop off in a bar, and obviously a fight breaks out, because that's like
those sequences,
movie cliche 101. If you have, because it's a Western style bar, and if it's a Western style bar, there's going to be a fight.
That's it.
So basically, Sonic goes Quicksilver, where he's able to move at normal speed, but everything around him is basically frozen. So he does the Quicksilver thing, where he takes out everyone in the bar within a second because of a quick movement he did around the bar. And then later on in the movie, near the end, they do another one, but we'll get to that when we get there. But yeah, basically it's just a quick road trip with some road trip jokes. But eventually Jim Carrey does find them again and uses one of his drones to try and take them down.
Car chase.
Car chase. And they do actually show the spin dash in that scene.
Yes.
Although it was kind of accidental. Because Sonic gets because basically...
Hedgehogs roll up into a ball.
Yeah, it was like he got flung out the back window and then his foot tripped on the rear bonnet and so he rolled up into a ball and he was also charging up with the electricity again and knocked right into the front of one of the drones and blows it up, basically.
He's definitely a hero in training in this film up until the final act.
Which it's actually kind of fitting because one of the things of Sonic lore that I do know is that he wasn't the one who created the spin dash, Tails was.
Yeah, kind of. But we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that later. So it is kind of makes sense that he kind of accidentally stumbled onto that move. So basically they defeat a drone, although there is this one funny moment that I did quite like where every time the drone dies, it separates off into a smaller version.
Yeah.
So it's like, at first it's like a 6-wheeled tank and then it's a 4-wheeled doom buggy.
And you're expecting the rule of 3, but no, then comes the tiny one.
Yeah, then comes the unicycle, and then finally it turns into this tiny little propeller drone with a laser that turns Jake Marsden's Toyota Land Cruiser into a convertible. And so finally they end up breaking it, but the initial sort of circular probe, which was the center, turns into a bomb. It starts going beep, 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 and it gets stuck to Sonic's glove and he can't get it off.
We expect the baseball gag. It doesn't work.
Well, no, what I was expecting was him to actually take the glove off because we never see Sonic without his gloves on.
Yeah, we were watching with bated breath at the moment.
I was hoping he would take his glove off, but eventually they do.
We were not.
They eventually do get the bomb off, but Sonic forgets to step away from the rock he put the bomb on, and this knocks him out. So Marsden takes him to, because they eventually do make it to San Francisco, and take him to his wife's sister's house where she's staying, and obviously she's a vet, so they managed to bring him back to life again.
And her wife's sister is slightly crazy?
Yeah, her wife's... Basically, his wife's sister is kind of like Medea or like some kind of Tyler Perry character where she's constantly going, that man ain't right for you, son.
Yeah, she's the main detractor from the film because she is quite literally a sassy black lady.
Yeah, she's basically
and that's slightly worrying in a film in 2020.
Constantly saying that Marsden is not right for the person he's married to.
And basically, I'm just waiting for, are you going to rat them out to Robotnik or not?
But was that what
you're not? Okay.
What I was thinking was, what can he possibly have that's not good enough for her? He's a police sheriff of a small town. Everyone in said town knows him.
And he's going up in the world in San Francisco.
Yeah, and he seems to be one of the nicest people ever. What's wrong with this guy? Anyway, Sonic eventually gets revived, and of course he says the line,
gotta go fast.
He's brought back to life with smelling salts, and he immediately says, gotta go fast. And also he gets the soap shoes from from Jason Marsden's niece.
Yeah.
It's just for some reason she has a pair of shoes that are clearly too big for her or her mother. So I mean, we never see her husband in the movie, so maybe they're his
America
shoes.
culture.
Yeah.
Bye.
But yeah, that because he was wearing a pair of like tatty, odd sneakers throughout the movie, which actually
worn out. Yeah, again.
That actually, I did like that to show that they had holes in the bottom. It's like that actually made me laugh.
Like, no, thank you. I do not wish to see his feet.
Yeah. Well, no, absolutely not. We did see like a tiny bit because he also wears socks under,
I was worried.
Those had holes in it. But yeah,
they kept the rest of it out of shot.
Yeah. But eventually, yeah, Sonic gets revived and they go up the build. Well, initially they wanted to go... Sonic tried to run into the building to get to the roof, but he said, no, you need a car to get to the roof. And I was like, you can run super fast. Go up the side of the building.
Traction, maybe? Yeah, it's kind of weird.
It's made of concrete. You can easily get traction off of that.
Yeah.
So that's when they do the scene that we see in the trailer where they stuff him inside the laundry bag and try and sneak him up through the elevator. And that was probably the moment where both of us were just like...
Please, stop. Yeah.
Yeah, that was easily the worst part of the movie, I think, for both of us, because it was just such a dumb joke.
Yeah, just get us up to the roof, get us to the action.
Yeah, but eventually they do make it to the roof, and they get the ring. Sonic's about to go to Mushroom World, but then...
Big goodbyes that take 5 minutes, and obviously gives enough time for Robotnik to get here.
Yeah, so Robotnik used Sonic's quill that he found to power up his...
machines!
Yeah, power up, which they actually were called badniks in the movie. It was a very subtle thing.
Very tiny tape. More references.
There's a scene where he has a dance montage and he's sort of building up his new equipment, and there's a bit where he goes over to a junction box because all the power gets knocked out because of Sonic's quill, and in there you can see emergency power, and then above it says Badniks.
Badnik circuit breakers.
I was like, okay, that's a nice little reference. But yeah, basically he uses Sonic's quill to make his personal flying machine so fast that he can even keep up with Sonic when he's in Quicksilver mode.
Yeah, shame it wasn't called an Egg-O-Matic, but then we were using Eggman jokes.
No, I would have loved to have seen it called the Death Egg Machine. I know it's nothing like the Death Egg Machine, but it would have been cool.
But if they do want to do a sequel where dear old Robotnik comes back from wherever he goes to, and with a giant death egg, then great. Go for it.
Yeah, but basically, so this leads to a chase sequence across like 4 different continents. Like he goes to Paris, and of course we made the reference because there's a
Antoine from Sonic Sat AM.
Yeah, so there's even a bit where Jim Carrey goes, "Pardon, monsieur."
Yeah.
Which there was that weird moment, where Jim Carrey found the quill inside Agent Stone's jacket, and then says interesting in a language that we don't get discern.
No.
I think it might have been Japanese, but I couldn't quite tell. It was just a weird moment.
Is that Yuji Naka's cameo?
Maybe
it's him saying interesting,
and it's just like it was weird. It's like, why would he suddenly speak Japanese?
It was just like a random bit of direction that Jim Carrey just probably ad-libbed.
Yes, because Agent Stone's not Japanese; he's African American, so he speaks English as his first language.
Yeah.
So I have no idea why he suddenly would decide to speak that, but whatever. So yeah, basically he chases Sonic across Paris, across
Egypt, the Great Wall of China,
where he blows up the Sphinx.
Yeah, that's rude. He also blows up the Triangle building, so in chasing down the terrorists, he becomes a terrorist.
He destroys half the world in just this one chase scene alone.
That's America for you.
Yeah. Eventually the chase leads them back to Green Hills in Montana.
Because he thought of home.
Yeah. And effectively Sonic gets knocked out and
looks a lot like Roadkill.
He does. He really does. He just lies there very battered.
That's the second time he's been knocked out for the count and dying, and I'm wondering, oh God, James Marsden, please don't kiss him.
No. we don't want this to turn into Rise of Skywalker right now.
Or Sonic 06. No, thank you,
God,
sir.
No,
Sonic that's 06. Why I was kept sulking about it. Yeah. No, thank you.
But basically Marsden and the entire town of Green Hill shows up to defend Sonic and Marsden from Eggman.
Old Man Dave and chainsaw included.
He just has a chainsaw for no reason.
Yeah, and the policeman, the dumb Wade, knocks his chainsaw away with his gun. Yeah, apparently, and that is American policing.
Apparently Marsden is friends with like Deadpool, because is one of his friends in the movie is called Wade. It's like he's friends with Deadpool. But yeah, so basically,
oh God, this was from the writers of Deadpool.
Yes, it was.
Oh, okay.
That's probably where that reference comes from. But yeah, so basically it buys them enough time for Sonic to revive himself.
Through the speech of friendship.
Basically, yeah. And so he and Marsden work together. Marsden throws a ring and thinks of Mushroom World, which I don't know how he did that because he's never seen it.
Well, I mean, he's talked about it long enough that he can just think Mushroom World, and the ring's like, yeah, all right then. I mean, Sonic did have a map of multiple worlds he could go to.
But he didn't show Marsden it. I don't see how that works, just because...
It's a strange light bulb moment,
I guess. But yeah, he throws it behind Robotnik's sort of drone thing that he's flying.
And Sonic pushes him the way in.
Yeah, he spin dashes into the portal and it closes up. So Robotnik's trapped in Mushroom World now.
And the day is saved.
And Sonic is effectively officially adopted by
the town.
By Marsden and his wife. The government even shows up. It's like, have you seen Sonic? He would like to speak to the president would like to have a word with him. It's like, oh, is this going to turn into Shadow the Hedgehog all of a sudden?
Nah, thankfully not.
Yeah. But yeah, so basically Sonic now lives with Marsden and his wife, but at the very end of the movie we do get to see
home in a roof.
Yeah, he gets a home in a loft, basically, but it works because they brought all the stuff.
Ultimate teenager's ending.
They basically brought all the stuff he had from his cave, because he had like Flash comics and a washing machine he used as a hamster wheel.
More American culture ingrained into the poor sod.
But at the very end of the movie, just before the credits, we do get to see Jim Carrey one last time, when he's presumably spent quite a long time in Mushroom World.
Said 87 days.
Did it? Okay.
Yeah.
And we see him shaving his head with a piece of broken glass from his drone. It's like, oh, I would not have done that.
Sanity fully intact, as he says.
He's got the proper Robotnik mustache now. He's bald, and also he had this flight suit on earlier in the movie, which is meant to look like Robotnik's clothes.
It works.
It works, but basically he's gone mental. Still, I wouldn't say he's like Robotnik in terms of performance, but he's a bit closer now.
And he's desperately clutching on to a tiny hair thread that says, sequel.
Yeah, which may never happen. But yeah, that's not the only sequel bait that there is in this movie.
No, because from out of another ring comes Colleen O'Shaughnessy's Tails.
Yeah, for whatever reason, Tails does make a cameo in the movie.
I mean, she's a good voice actress for Tails, but
yeah, it's like...
Thanks.
Tails gets...
And also thanks for spoiling me on Twitter, madam.
Yeah, but Tails gets his voice actor from the actual games to do him, and Sonic doesn't. What sense does that make?
Yeah, it's a bit of spit in the face for Roger Craig Smith, unless he was unavailable.
Yeah, because Roger Craig Smith, oh no, he does everything Sonic related. Roger Craig Smith is a fantastic voice for Sonic.
Yeah, so, and you might know me from such comments as trying to make sure that the Sonic Boom series, the TV series, was actually, properly represented. It wasn't. Shame. But there we are. But yeah.
So basically Tails shows up out of a ring saying, the readings are true, he must be here. And I think, it took you 10 years to find him. I'm sure you could have gone and asked his mum where he's gone.
I mean, the rings are space warp. Why won't they be time warp?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, presuming if Longclaw did actually survive, which, to be fair, the last time we see her, she's facing down an entire horde of echidnas on her own, so she probably didn't make it.
And like I say, the echidnas are well known for going extinct, so it's fine.
So, yeah, basically, Tails has shown up to try and find Sonic, and we do get to see a brief moment of him actually flying with his tails, which was kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's sequel bait.
So, technically, in this movie, collectively, we do have all 4 of the main Sonic characters: Tails, Knuckles, Sonic, and Eggman.
And the Eggman.
We don't have Amy, which is probably a plus, in all honesty, because I would imagine...
More sequel bait.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe if they do enough, we'll get to Vector the Crocodile.
Yeah, maybe not.
And who knows? But yeah, so... Like I said, it was nowhere near as bad as I thought it could be, but I certainly still wouldn't call it good. It definitely was a movie that went through so many revisions that whatever soul it had kind of disappeared.
And considering that I'm going through that stage in my life, I feel like I'm having that both with the Sonic franchise and the Doctor Who franchise for other different reasons.
Yeah, well, maybe if this proves to be popular, I might bring Ben back for the series retrospective for series 12, because I'm still I'm still making notes on each episode, so don't worry, I will be making a video about that.
So are you, Carl.
But yeah, if this proves popular, I might bring Ben back for that, and maybe we'll bring in
popular absurd.
And we might bring in Ben and Luke for that, because it'd be fun to get their comments as well.
Oh boy. So yeah, ultimately, I'm feeling 7 out of 10 because it does what it says in the tin. It's a Sonic movie. It thankfully wasn't horrific, but there's still another half of my brain which is like empty and unsatisfied.
I'd give it maybe a 5, a 6 at a push.
Yeah,
it's serviceable, and if you have kids that would like it, then it's probably...
And the ones in the movie theatre certainly did.
Yeah, although I was slightly worried because you were making very vocal comments, and there was a dad and his kid sat right in front of us. I was like, oh god.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
That's okay. It was funny for me, but I was just slightly concerned that it would get us in trouble, but it didn't.
If you're watching, sorry.
But I will say, I think I probably would have enjoyed this movie more than most of the trailers we got, because a lot of the trailers...
Yeah, it's like the Sonic franchise has had one hell of a ride, but it's out now, and thank God it's over.
Well, the best one was probably Outward, which is the new Pixar movie about trolls, which that looked okay, but there's a bit... I don't know if you've seen the trailer, but the stuff with the decapitated legs... That just freaked the hell out of me.
Yeah, that's...
I mean, it's like, that was traumatizing enough for a grown man. I can't even imagine what a kid would think when they saw that. But like Ben said, it basically is the plot of the episode Ghost Town from Doctor Who. So it's, what was it? City of Ghosts, whatever.
Army of Ghosts.
Army of Ghosts, thank you.
Yeah, I want to see my dad one last time.
Yeah.
All right, good luck with that one.
Basically, yeah.
Well, it's every time travel paradox.
Yeah.
I want to see my father, Father's Day.
Father's Day, exactly.
Yes.
It's the plot of Father's Day from Doctor Who, but with using a magical staff instead of a time machine. We had the sequel for the new Trolls movie, which... I never saw the first one. I didn't think it looked that great. This one certainly is not.
You just want an internet troll joke.
I wanted to see, because they're saying there's lots of different types of trolls, like, what, internet trolls?
Yeah, and ultimately, if you want to actually teach kids the meaning of pluralism and not kicking everybody in the face because they're different, there's better ways to do it.
Yeah, those were the two that stuck out to me. What were some of the other ones we saw?
Peter Rabbit 2.
Oh, God, Peter Rabbit. I've been on a rant about Peter Rabbit and extensively James Corden in the past, so I won't go into too much detail, but basically it's just like, why do we need to do this?
Why do we need James Corden? Or
both.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just sort of like, I don't like James Corden at all, and I love the Peter Rabbit franchise. I grew up with those books, and it's just like, this is so not Peter Rabbit. This is just some generic kids movie that they've slapped a familiar brand onto.
And I'm happy to be a social outcast, so I don't see it. That's all good.
Yeah. But yeah, so those were the main ones we saw. All of them looked way worse than the movie we saw, so maybe we got off lucky.
Praise indeed.
Yeah.
Well done, Sonic movie.
But yeah, so those were our thoughts on the Sonic movie. I hope you enjoyed it, and if this proves popular, I'll hopefully do some more of this, because it's nice to actually have someone to bounce opinions off of for a change.
And vice versa.
Instead of pretending that I'm talking to somebody, but actually we filmed our footage on separate days.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Funny.
But yeah, it's been good having you here doing some opinions, Ben.
Yep, and now for some plugging.
Yes.
Yes, please. Come subscribe or at least see my dead channel, because I'm revitalising it, because I'm putting slightly competent fan fiction out there, and also I'll do another critique of the Sonic movie in my voice and my lips and my words. Scrub Monkey Third Class.
Yes. Which Ben has cameoed on my channel in the past, but it was only in a voiceover.
Oh, had I? Okay.
That was when we did the I Hate Sprouts for my 10-year anniversary.
Oh, yes.
So you probably may not have recognised him because you didn't actually see his face.
And I was with Doctor Who 50 years ago at the time, and still am.
Which, yeah, Doctor Who 50 years ago, that's a great podcast, by the way, do check that out. Ben, along with two other friends of ours, Nick and Luke, who I was going to be doing a crossover with a few years back, but...
To be confirmed.
Yeah, no, that fell through, so that's not going to happen, unfortunately. I would have liked to, but we both just got too busy, so we couldn't finish it.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully, maybe I might be able to get them in for the Series 12 end retrospective, because it'd be great to get their opinion, especially Luke.
Because we've got stuff that we need to get out with based on Doctor Who Series 12.
We do have a lot of stuff to get out with Series 12 of Doctor Who. But before this video ends up becoming too long and curtails off, we'll just say goodbye and see you later.
Goodbye and see you later.